everybody, Trish Jenkins here, and it's a bit later than I normally do it, so we'll get on with it. We're reading from Treasures of Darkness, A Prison Journey, so we are welcome to Story Time with Trish. So if you're having your dinner or doing something else and you just want to watch something, you can have a listen. All right. I have a new computer and I'm using I have to use the inbuilt camera because my Logitech it just wouldn't take, so I have to sort out that technology tomorrow. I'm hoping you can hear me, so if anyone's on just yet, you might not be yet, but let me know if you can hear me, because that'll be a bit of a waste to do all this and it's all silent and it's like, all right, okay. BWCC, Brisbane Women's Correctional Centre at Wacol. And our first place to stay is the induction unit called S7, or Secure Block 7. Okay. During the first few days in S7, I wrote as much as I could remember about the court, the watch house, and my first impressions. There wasn't much else to do, and I wanted to capture the extraordinary experiences. They make up many of the preceding pages, so that's what we've been covering. If you've missed any of these, you can just go to my webpage and scroll back and catch them in order. Eventually we were led, dragging our sacks, to S7, the induction unit. This is where we would be observed for a few days before being fed into other units. It's also where we were informed of the rules. Each unit was like a large hall with cell doors lining 3 walls on 2 levels, and the second level, with a wide staircase leading up to the second level, and it was a staircase that you could see through, so it's all very Spartan, so metal and mostly just metal. The second level just had a walkway going around, enabling access to the cells up there, and we were not allowed on the stairs during the day. In the afternoons, we could choose to be locked in our cells for 2 hours or stay downstairs in the hall for that time. One end of the hall had tables with seats fixed to the floor. Nearby, there were 2 metal mesh picnic benches, which allowed women to sit uncomfortably and gaze up at a TV that rarely worked. At the rear, a Coke machine got overworked and a single exercise bike sometimes got worked. With the Coke machine, it would take tokens, so you could order. You'd have an order form that you fill in. So when I was getting sorted out before we went into the unit, we could fill out an order form, and I ordered some things, including some stationery, so that I could write down everything that I could remember, and a handful of tokens so that I could put them in the machine, because there's obviously no money that we can actually handle. Okay, so here we go. The 4th wall contained the entrance and the fishbowl, an office area with a barred window from which officers could supervise both us and the unit behind them on the other side through another barred window. Now, to one side of the unit were some windows and a door opening to a concrete yard about the size of a large lounge room. It was caged with what appeared to be the square mesh used to reinforce concrete. You know that when you reinforce concrete, you've got mesh and it's about so big in squares. Well, that was what caged us on the sides and above, which I'm probably about to read. A basketball hoop hung at the far end. A telephone was fastened to a wall. And once our ID number was connected to the phone system, we could make 10-minute phone calls before being cut off. 2 long benches were provided for women to sit on while endlessly queuing for their turn on the phone. And there was often a conflict when the noise of the basketball hitting the backboard made listening on the phone difficult. A great variety of people passed through S7, from respectable prisoners caught for earning undeclared income, so that would be like Centrelink fraud, welfare fraud, to serious drug and or violent offenders. The only people we did not encounter were those in protection. This was a special unit commonly referred to by my fellow prisoners as the boneyard, And these women were spoken of with scorn and malice. At any one time around, I don't know if I've got my maths done correctly here, but I tried to work it out. At any one time, around 3%, sorry, that's just Dashy coming up to sit on my lap and be part of it. You might see him, you might not. Okay, so at any one time, around 3% of Queensland women are in prison. Now, this is at the time of writing, so that's 10 years ago. I don't know if it's changed. And according to a government-commissioned Women in Prison report, recidivism, which is repeat offending, dropped from 34 to 25% where education programs were participated in. So if we average these figures, we can roughly say that 2% of Queensland women, 66% of ex-prisoners, do not reoffend. Except for murderers, most sentences seem to be less than 2 years. So, and this is where I'm not sure if my numbers add up properly. I was trying to work it out. If 2% of the female population is always in prison, and prisons have a turnover of different women every 2 years or less, that means a very large proportion of the population has done time. I'd like a mathematician to work that one out. I think I tried to work it out at one stage, but I just didn't have the patience for it, but maybe someone else can. If you can work it out, let me know. So what that means is that you have no idea if your neighbour, your boss or your friend has a record. They won't tell you. There's no mark of Cain on their head, although I felt like there was one when I came home. What I can tell you is that they cannot leave this place without being damaged. The person you judge as a no-hoper may very well be so damaged that they really don't have any hope left. The little bit of education they receive in prison is supposed to help women become more employable. However, that is becoming increasingly difficult as more companies require a criminal history check to help screen job applicants. The irony is that some of these women would make better, more honest employees than anyone else. Why? Firstly, they would not do anything to risk going back to prison. Secondly, they know they would be the first people suspected of anything. Thirdly, they are the small percent that was caught. If you're in business, your own staff could be among the latter. Fewer women break the law than men, and consequently more resources are directed to men's prisons. Even something as simple as our sun hats were oversized because they were originally for the men's prison. So I couldn't find one to fit, so it was very floppy. It made it hard if I wanted to move around exercising or running or anything like that, although we didn't really run there. BWCC is overcrowded, so it's common to have 2 women share a cell designed for 1 occupant. Amanda and I were glad to bunk in together. One of us would have to wedge her mattress between the bed and the desk, so they gave us a second mattress, and so we had one on the platform and the other one was on the floor, but we had to lift it up in the mornings. Okay. So the desk was shallow and fixed to the wall, and a little TV sat on it. At the end of the desk were some open shelves, and under the desk a metal seat could swing out, but not when the mattress was on the floor. It was a very economical use of space. I've since been told by a prison chaplain that they now have bunk beds in the cell, so they can fit 3. Nice and cosy. Beyond the shelves was the toilet, over which a mirror was fixed. Opposite the toilet was a shower corner. The shower space was shielded by a wall that separated it from the bed in the front. A barred window in the rear wall gave a forlorn view. On the ceiling of the bathroom end, a domed or convex mirror enabled an officer, male or female, to see you behind the shower wall. They checked on us every 2 hours through a small rectangular window in the heavy cell door. The best way to describe how it feels to live like this is to suggest you pick up a crackly vinyl-covered pillow, a blanket and an unreliable little TV set, and then go and live in your bathroom for 18 hours a day with a stranger. Now, we weren't locked in the cells for 18 hours a day, but a lot of the time was in there, and then the rest was in the hall area with everybody else. But it just imagine living in your bathroom. That's what it feels like. And not a luxury bathroom either, more like at a campsite. Oh, and so you're living there with a stranger, and have an even stranger male or a butch lesbian stare in at you every 2 hours, shining a torch in your face. Why is it relevant that it's butch? It's because you're there, vulnerable as anything, and it's just another unsettling, out of the ordinary experience of anybody can look at you at any time and touch you at any time and frisk you at any time. So it's just really just unsettling. So they stare in at you every 2 hours, shining a torch in your face, and that's all through the night as well. Hopefully you won't be taking care of personal matters when they do. I got to know many of the women and was relieved to see a chaplain wander through. Gosh, what a relief. Someone normal, someone nice. Being able to connect with a chaplain was very encouraging. They were people from my culture, regardless of the denomination. Here you going, puppy? Here he is. Okay. I had seen one briefly at the watch house, but was not permitted to talk to her for more than a few seconds. No services were held in hell. When some of the women learned I was a Christian, they came to me with prayer requests. I was moved by their simple faith. I expected hostility, and would find it down the track, but not from this group. I was just as interested in these women as they were in me. So, for example, I'd never seen track marks from heroin before. I'd read about it, but I hadn't seen it, and I hadn't seen it up close. Now I had plenty of opportunities to examine them. So several ladies were only too happy to educate me about such matters. I looked for encouragement wherever I could find it. I still do. Any time you're going through a tough point, look for encouragement anywhere. One night, Amanda and I watched the Bucket List movie on our little TV. So we decided to make our own bucket lists for when we got out. We were going to appreciate our freedom and live life to the full. It's probably a good thing that I didn't know having a criminal conviction would cut my list in half, or at least put off my ability to do them for many years. It was here I began writing notes about my journey. Now, I've done a little, the following diagram is not in exact proportions, but it will give you an idea. So I drew this diagram in Word. I don't know if you can see that very well. I'll try and put a bit of shade in there. So you've got the door and the bed and shelf and toilet. And the toilet's actually doesn't face that way. It's on a diagonal, but I couldn't get the diagram to do that. And I do have slides and pictures of what it looks like inside. And at this stage, I'm not quite sure how to screen share. I should find out how to do it before I get on here. But Facebook is kind of a safe place for me to share this stuff rather than the big wide world. Hey, Coconuts, how are you? And Meryl, good to see you on here. So I take it you can hear me okay. So that's good. And look, if there's a better time of day to do this, then, let me know. So I'll try and fit in I'm thinking probably late afternoon. I don't know. People are busy and they work. And people can catch up with it, but it's fun when there's other people on. Right, so that's the end of that section. And the next one is private journal note entries. So this is alternating between journal entries and then, so that was 30th of January is my first journal notes. Oh, you can't see there, it's a bit small, a bit pale. And that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. And then I'll read the first letter I wrote to the outside world. And that one is a couple of pages there. I'll leave it there because I'm supposed to keep these nice and short and sweet for you. But feel free to share, to like. And yes, if you want to buy a copy of my book, I know you guys have already got it. That's fine. My website is www.speakertrishjenkins.com and /store. You can get the ebook or the paperback. And if you want one signed, I can only send one within Australia at the moment, but message me and you can just do that through PayPal. I think that's all can think of, but this has been fun so far, just and also to get my confidence up with doing lots of videos. I've got my COVID hair going on. It's a bit flat, but that's okay because we're just being mates together, just sharing. So, and thank you for the messages and things I've been getting from everyone. All right, I will leave you to it, and like you probably have, I have a Zoom on in a little bit, so I'll catch you later and see you next time. Hopefully tomorrow or soon I'll have all my electronics and my Logitech camera working. But I'll leave you there and bless you heaps and see you tomorrow. Bye.